Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFeelove and this is Speedplay Touggourt number 10. So we left off with the war against Portugal just beginning. We have troops in the Philippines, we're going to move forward, and we have a significant fleet in the area. Over by the Iberian Peninsula, we're going to try to get our fleet ready. Unfortunately, France has joined the Portuguese, which kind of throws the whole balance of power a bit into a different skew. They have a few more forces than we do. We're going to call the Ottomans in order to get them on our side and hopefully even this number up. We split apart our armies in the Philippines in order to just occupy the entire region. Essentially the same plan as in the last war, I just wasn't sure we'd be able to have local superiority. As it is, we're probably only going to have a naval superiority in Southeast Asia, as it looks like they have a very significant force which we were unable to get out of the way of in time, so we took a lot of casualties just then. And so just like that, the plan is kind of thrown in reverse. It looks as though we will be able to just dominate Indonesia and the whole East Indies region. So while that is more or less just a side theater, as long as we avoid disaster in North Africa, we should be alright. In South America, we're doing fine. It's just going to be North Africa that will be the difference maker. We do get a new colonial nation, which is great, and it's more strength where we're already strong, and there's nothing wrong with that. Meanwhile, though, in North Africa, it looks as though avoiding a disaster might be more difficult than I'd taken into account, and we're probably just going to get all 4 of these heavy ships picked off. I do attempt to make a breakout, but it fails and they all end up back where they were, which is definitely not great. In the Philippines, we are successfully sieging the entire area, and it looks like we may be able to pick off a straggling army in North Africa. Now, the Ottomans aren't really able to help us as they are in another war, but it looks like they are going to send an army, which is great. Meanwhile, we have a massive amount of men in the Philippines, and it looks like we may be able to finish off this army invading us in the Tunisian region, and it looks like we do in fact succeed. Meanwhile, a Spanish colonial nation has declared war on one of our colonial nations, so that may very well just make this into a catastrophe. At any rate, it isn't going to be a catastrophe just yet, and as long as our army is in a safe-ish spot in North Africa, we should be okay. And it looks as though the Ottomans have finally arrived, and I'm not actually going to risk them not helping us, so we're going to just not actually attack. We do follow up when the Ottomans attack, and unfortunately it does not look like it's going in our favor, which it doesn't. In South America, we aren't really doing much. We do manage to siege at the Philippines, and we can move our troops somewhere else, probably just to North Africa, where we need more support. I noticed that the Ottomans are fighting a battle, but I don't even begin to get near them in time, and we have a Regency Council, which isn't ideal. So we just convert 50 military points into a ruler, and it looks as though we have a new king who is amazing, and that is just fantastic. Meanwhile, through the help of our Ottoman allies, we have defeated the French and can unsiege all of these provinces. So I was really hoping that the Blue Dawn, which gives the episode its title, would have been Our Invasion of Portugal, but it turns out it is the French invasion of us. Luckily, it appears we have defeated that, and I guess realistically I shouldn't have named the episode for a planned invasion after a failed movie invasion. So it works even better this way. And at any rate, I'm going to try to see if I can make a breakout with our navy, although it looks as though the Portuguese will just support them, and I really don't want to risk losing the remainder of my fleet, so it's just going to have to be a fleet in being. Meanwhile, we have a significant rebel issue, but we have a lot of troops in the region, so we're able to just deal with that. And we deal with 1/2 and just go after the remainder. Meanwhile, there is a small Portuguese army, but compared to what was invading us, it's essentially no problem whatsoever. And now it looks as though the war is more or less in good hands. It's not a disaster in South America. We're in fact making significant progress. And in Southeast Asia, we're making similar progress. In North Africa, it's no longer a disaster. And now it's just a matter of waiting until the Portuguese lose enough war enthusiasm that we can get some modest gains. I'd definitely been hoping that this would have been the war where we would have just destroyed the Portuguese Empire, but the fact that the French have joined on their side really, really didn't help us. So that all said and done, we can go ahead and invade the newest island of the Portuguese. And this is actually in one of the trade regions that we have a significant presence, so if we are going to get anything in this war, it'll probably be this island. However, there is a significant Portuguese force. It is attacking us, but we do manage to get superiority, and it looks like we do stack wipe it, which is just great news. And the other half of it seems to have just disappeared, which is a bit disconcerting. At any rate, it looks as though there's a small enough Portuguese force that we can make a breakout. So I go ahead and chase it, but it manages to just run away. We do sink a smaller fleet, though. And now just more sieges in Southeast Asia, or in the islands off Southeast Asia. We do fight another naval battle, this one actually successful, which is great. We do lose some transports, though, so we build some more to get back up to the 20. And we just worry about our armies in the local area. So all said and done, we are in a fairly good spot. We will eventually be able to win the war just by waiting out the enemy, and the fact that we are winning in every front but the main one, and ignore that battle we just lost. Overall, not a terrible spot. Definitely could have gone better if the French hadn't joined, but we're near a point where we can make peace. It's just a matter of waiting. We do get a new idea group administrative for the lower tech costs, or lower coring costs, and it'll lower our administrative costs for technology. The French unfortunately intercept our navy as we blockade Portugal, and we lose a significant portion. Overall, though, despite some significant naval setbacks, we are doing all right, and we can probably just go ahead and make a more or less reasonable peace deal in the very near future. So I go ahead and see what we can get. We can get most of the island and one of their islands off in the distance, so we go ahead and just do that. And from there, it'll just be a matter of coring and adding to our trade companies. So with that all said and done, we're in a pretty good spot, and we're really able to just continue what we were doing in the episode a couple previous, or just the last one. We are able to start building very expensive buildings, though, because we have a lot of trade money. And we can go ahead and just start getting ready to declare war on all of these local countries in order to just seize the remainder of the islands that we're already significantly strong on. So we go ahead and with just overwhelming force begin our invasion. And at this point, we're just going to take everything that we can get our hands on. And the main goal for this next stage is, until we get into another major war, we're just going to be constantly expanding, maybe building whatever special buildings we can, but overall, just every time our core is complete, we're going to make a peace deal with another country to get near as we can to 100% overextension, and just rinse and repeat across as much of Asia and the regions around it as we can. So this is definitely going to be the dawn of a new imperial age for Touggourt, which is fantastic news. And we fully siege out one country and begin to just get ready for the sieging of the other. And we have enough forces we can just send an entire army. With our trade, we're going to try a little bit of a new thing and see how that goes for us. We have a significant amount of merchants, but we don't have any trade power near the end of the stream. So we should probably, realistically, just be collecting throughout the stream, as anything else will just be giving money to our opponents, and I'm really against that in principle. So we go ahead and make peace, getting us right back up to pretty high overextension, but as long as we stay underneath 100%, it shouldn't matter. We might end up having to deal with a slight coalition of countries over here, but they're weak enough that it doesn't matter, and we're picking them off one at a time easily enough. And just like that, we begin a carpet siege, and we're in an amazing position in this war as well. It's honestly not surprising how wars go very well when you're fighting enemies that can't really fight back, but it is really nice. And so once this war is done, we should be able to get an extra merchant in this trade company region. From there, we will just increase our wealth even more, and once again just do the same thing. In the long term, these sorts of conquests are great because it will inevitably make us strong enough that we can take on the European powers. I'm really of the opinion that we should be getting the most for our money, essentially, and these areas are just the easiest to conquer. And then we just go ahead and add them to our trade companies, and it basically just takes care of itself in a fantastic way. Plus, since we don't have a direct connection with our capital and it's on a different continent, I'm fairly certain that means coring costs are just immediately halved. I believe that is different in common sense, but this is a legacy playthrough, so we don't even have to worry about that. Meanwhile, we set our forces up to the invasion of Brunei, which I predict is going to go just swimmingly. And so our forces begin their march. I am considering adding a merchant into South America, as we've really just been ignoring American trade. And as predicted, the battles go just completely in our favor, which is fantastic news. We even upgrade our cabinet and go ahead and just get ready to siege everything. We do have a massive rebel stack that just rises in our new island, but we've already cored it, so it doesn't really matter if they take any provinces. We are going to build an entire new army, though, just to future-proof our empire, as really the goal was to have force projection at any point, and at the moment we don't have that, as all of our troops are occupied. So this stage could definitely be going better, although if there's anything we've learned, it's that our presence in the Indonesian region is just spectacular. We were even able to beat the Europeans here. So the more we invest, the more we will just dominate. And at this point, I should mention that I'm fairly sure our colonial nation is still fighting a Spanish colonial nation. But as of this moment, nothing has really come up about that, so I'm not really going to worry about it. And worst comes to worst, we can go ahead and just seize the island that Brunei started on for ourselves. Until we do fight the Spanish, though, I don't actually want a presence there. I would prefer, really just aesthetically, to just have control over entire islands of our own, which we managed to get with that peace deal. And so we have it. We are in an amazing position. Thank you very much for watching. Tell a friend. Touggourt has gone far, and it's going to go even farther.